Hello there and a warm welcome to you. This is Elumba Television and my name is Angel Lady. Today we've got yet another interesting gist for you. Yes, it's so juicy. You'd like it. So, hashtag EndSARS protest has brought a lot of news, a lot of untold stories, a lot of unknown things to Nigerians. And of course, you know that in the course of the protest, the globe was watching. Yes, with the spectacles on, and they were seeing what's going on, what's happening. And of course, a petition came up against the brutality, the response of the federal government concerning the hashtag EndSARS protest, and of course the freezing of accounts, the travel ban, and all of that facing the protesters. And the UK Parliament does sit over it because the petition had a lot of signatures appended to it. It had over 200,000 signatures, so it couldn't be ignored. And in the course of this deliberation, in the course of this debate, another banger came up, another hit, yes, another one. And this one involves someone who's not been spotted a while. We've not heard some of those, negative vibes concerning this name. We're talking about the accusation on General Yakubu Gowon, saying that he moved half of CBN, that is the Central Bank of Nigeria, half of it to UK. Now the question is, will he come up to debunk this news or it will just slide? We wouldn't know. But let's look at the video and then we'll show you the response of people concerning that accusation on social media. Here we go on that gist. Okay, so quickly, let's look at the story.
In Nigeria today is part of that story. It's a tragedy that we are watching. It's a tragedy that we are all witnessing, because as we see things falling apart, the pressure this time is not foreign colonialism, forgive me. The pressure instead is corruption and violence and attempts at control. And that's why I totally agree with my old friend, the member for Edmonton. We need to call out the corruption. We need to use the powers that we have in this country to stop those who are profiting from the wealth of that great nation and hiding it here. Now, some people will remember when General Gowon left Nigeria with half the central bank, so it is said, and moved to London. We know that today, even now, in this great city of ours, there are, sadly,
okay, so you had that for yourself when General Gowon moved half of CBN to London. People, that is a news that you and I had not heard before. It's so new. And we're thinking, what will the general do about this? What will he say? What will be the response of the government? Okay, let's head straight to Twitter and see what people are saying about this accusation. Of course, there will be reactions, but let's see what it is that is trending. You know, what I always bring you what's trending, what's making news. So here we go. We have this one from our fave online doctor. He says, so Gowon stole half of CBN and then set up NYSC for helpless graduates to be collecting 30K. Our leaders cannot die well. So he said, okay, but then Senator Shehu Sani came up to say General Yakubu Gowon, the claim of looting the CBN made by the British Minister for Africa as represented by Mr. James Doddridge against General Gowon is nothing but outright falsehood. Gowon exited power without any evidence of wealth, and that remains for over 4 decades after power. And yes, this one is meet General Yakubu Gowon, a national hero who looted half of Central Bank of Nigeria to London. That's the response of people. Of course, more will be coming in coming days, and we'll always bring you details as they unfold. We will bring you updates every time we get one. Just like we did bring this one to you, you're still on Elumba Television. So let's head straight to what we've got for you for today. The details, the gist, the news, what's trending. Let's find out as we look at the headlines and then grab the details also. Remember, you can get all of the stories on Elumba's site by visiting www.elumba.com. That's where you can get all of those juicy stories. Now, first here we have Senate to invite Pantami over spate of insecurity. Breaking Senator Abo dumps PDP for APC. And Maynard's trials continues in absentia. He paid $1.4 million for Abuja property, pocketed 146 million DTA. Witness. That's huge, right? And we still have another breaking news. IPOP's North American rep Obidi Obieno dismissed, accused of insubordination. This is a story that you can get from the site www.elumba.com. Still on the site and the headlines, we have suspected vandals destroy Shell Ajib facilities in Bayelsa State. And we'll also look at the details of the story. But first, let's hit you with the very first one we talked about. And that's this story has hashtag Gowon and half of CBN. Fani Kayode defends Gowon, says he is not a thief. Let's get the details. A former Minister of Aviation, Mr. Fani Kayode, has risen in defense of the former Nigerian head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, following the allegation by British lawmakers that he stole half of the central bank with him when he went on exile to the United Kingdom. Reacting to the allegation, Mr. Fani Kayode said that he was not a thief and neither did he amass wealth for himself when he was head of state. The former aviation minister, however, indicted Gowon in the mass murder and genocide of 3 million Igbos during the Civil War. Taking to his Twitter handle on Tuesday, he posted in a series of tweets, "Whatever you may see or feel about General Gowon Yakubu, it is not true that he took half of Central Bank with him when he went in exile to the United Kingdom and studied at Warwick University after being removed in a coup by General Murtala Mohammed. I have my views about Gowon and what I consider to be his role in the mass murder and genocide of 3 billion Igbos during the Civil War, and I have often expressed it, but he was not a thief and neither did he amass wealth for himself when he was head of state. As a matter of fact, he was the darling of the British government and no Nigerian leader, living or dead, has been as close to successive British governments as he was. This very young British MP is trying to revise history and demonize a man who served and protected British interests in Nigeria when he was in power more than any other, and this is most dishonorable and unfair. The truth is that the greatest looters in the history of humanity were the British themselves and their empire. They enslaved, looted, pillaged entire nations and continents. If he wants to criticize Nigerian leaders, let him do so with facts and not fabricate lies in scurrilous and essentially racist attempts to confirm the stereotyping of every Nigerian and African leader as being corrupt. The truth is that even though they pretended and sweep it under the carpet, there are as many corrupt British leaders, government officials, and public servants today as there are Nigerian, and this has always been the case. The difference is that they are not so obvious and brazen, and they cover theirs up very well in a very sophisticated banking system which thrives on taking in dirty money and keeping it. Whoever this MP is should get his facts right and stick to talking about the hashtag EndSARS protest rather than talk about our history, which he evidently knows nothing about. Okay, so that's a response from Fani Kayode concerning this accusation on the person of General Yakubu Gowon. Now we go on to another story, and this one is Maynard's trial continues in absentia. He paid $1.4 million for Abuja property, pocketed 146 million naira, DTA witness. Let's bring you the details. The trial of Abdulrasheed Maynard, former chairman, Pension Reform Tax Team, PRTT, before Justice Okon Akpan of the Federal High Court Abuja continued in his absence on Tuesday, November 24, 2020. with the prosecution presenting two witnesses. Mena is facing a 12-count charge of operating fictitious bank accounts, corruption, and money laundering to the tune of 2 billion naira. But has neither made appearance in the court nor sent a legal representation since November 26, 2019, when he was released on bail, leading the court to revoke his bail on 23 November 2020 and order his trial in absentia. Despite his absence and that of his legal team in court today, his trial gained momentum with two witnesses testifying against him, while the cross-examination of the witnesses was foreclosed by the court due to absence of legal representation by the defendant. Testifying as the seventh prosecution witness, PW7, Ali Sani, an Abuja-based estate developer, told the court that Mena in February 2012 bought a property located on plot 965 Life Camp at the cost of 240 million through a proxy, Khalid Aliyu, the fifth prosecution witness, and that he paid in dollar equivalent of $1.4 million. The witness further told the court that Mena, upon the purchase, demanded for the building plan approval, stating that he wanted to convert the place into a service apartment. The second witness, Ibrahim Abdul Karim, a civil servant with the Ministry of Water Resources, who also worked in the office of the Permanent Secretary, Head of Service of the Federation, while testifying as the eighth prosecution witness, PW8, told the court that Mena about 2010 was deployed from the Nigerian Customs Service Immigration Prison Service Pension Office in Gwagwalada, Abuja, to be chairman pension tax team, and was directed by the then head of service to oversee the civil service pension under the head of service, and that he was appointed as a representative of the office of the permanent secretary, head of service, to work with Mena. According to him, Mena sometime in 2011 came with an application for funds for nationwide biometric exercise amounting to 146 million naira and directed him to sign it since he was part of the tax team. Having signed it, it was forwarded to the head of service, whom he said gave his approval. According to the witness, Mena, or after the approval, directed that the funds be sent to 5 different accounts of staff in the office of the permanent secretary, and disclosed that 55,998,000 was wired into his own account, while the rest was spread out to his 4 colleagues. All the sums, according to the witness, were sent back to Mena through him, Abdul Karim, in installments via Mena's secretary, one Mrs. Ann, on Mena's instruction. He further revealed that on all the occasions he sent the monies back to Mena through his secretary, he made the secretary sign acknowledgement of receipt for him. The acknowledgements, he said, have been submitted to the EFCC. The witness further disclosed that Mena, upon learning that he made his secretary sign acknowledgement for the receipts of the sums on his behalf, became worried and summoned him to his office to explain why he needed to exact the acknowledgements. Mena was never around when I took the money to Mrs. Ann, and when she informed him of the acknowledgements, Mena then directed her to call me. When she left after calling me, I intimated my permanent secretary of the acknowledgements, and he told me to make photocopies of them before giving the originals to Mena. When I got there, Mena asked me, "Ibrahim, are you not my brother?" And I replied, "Yes." He then asked why I collected acknowledgements for the money I brought, and I told him the money were collected in batches and I needed to keep record of what I was giving to Mrs. Ann, the witness said. Testifying further, he told the court that Mena directed him to give him the original acknowledgements for the receipts of the sums, and that Mena did not give any staff a dime as Deputy Tour Allowance, DTA, for the biometric exercise. The matter was adjourned till Wednesday, 25th November 2020, for continuation of trial. And still on our news for today, we go on to the next. Senator Abo dumps PDP for APC. Senator Elijah Abo have defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressive Congress. Senate President Ahmed Lawan read Abo's letter of defection during the plenary session on Wednesday. We'll bring you details of the story in a subsequent bulletin. And Senate to invite Pantami over spate of insecurity. Let's get the details. The Senate has mandated its Committee on Legislative Compliance and Communications to invite the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Isa Ali Pantami, to impress on him the need to implement the resolution of the Senate regarding security related to the mandate of his ministry. The decision was reached in a resolution which followed the consideration of a motion on the spurt of growing insecurity in Nigeria. Rising under Order 42 and 52 of the Senate rules, Senator Emmanuel Bacha, PDP Taraba South, noted that the rate of insecurity in Nigeria has not only increased astronomically, but has reached a melting point. According to the lawmaker, the challenge has manifested in kidnapping, banditry, armed robbery, assassination, and other criminal activities in the country. The assassination of Nasarawa State APC chairman and other high-profile cases are still fresh in our memories. A Chinese national who was recently abducted in my community, his whereabouts is still unknown, Bacha lamented. He further expressed worry that there is growing suspicion of complicity of officials of states saddled with the responsibility of protecting lives and property of the citizens, but was compromised in the process. This is heightened by arrest of several security operatives involved in armed robbery and kidnapping activities across the country. It is only in Nigeria that communication facilities can be used without a biometric process, no valid identification of passport details in the case of foreigners, in place to check abuse, the lawmaker added. He raised alarm that bandits, terrorists negotiate for ransom using telephones and getting away with it, querying, how can we be so negligent and insensitive to the safety and security of citizens? Senate is concerned that the confidence between the protected and the protector is being increasingly eroded, resulting to breakdown of law and order, as demonstrated in the hashtag #EndSARS protest, which was subsequently hijacked by miscreants. Further notes that political permutations across the landscape is attracting politicians to recruit criminals for the purpose of destabilizing the corporate existence of Nigeria. These evil intents can be easily achieved given the poor control over communication facilities, viz. Inability of security apparatus and service providers to effectively manage this all-important sector, Bacha said. And over now to the next story, which is police station burnt as warders, Okada riders clash in Ibadan. There was pandemonium at the Agodi Gate area of Ibadan, Oyo State on Tuesday as a result of clash between some motorcyclists and warders at the Agodi Correctional Center. The clash led to the burning of the Idogugun police station by some angry youths, while another police station opposite the center was reportedly damaged. It was gathered that a motorcyclist was shot by one of the warders, but some eyewitnesses claimed that the tear gas canister, which the warder held, exploded and injured the motorcyclist in the face. Some of the traders who have shops in the area told our correspondent that the victim was shot by the prison officials following his refusal to pay a bribe of 50 naira. One of the traders, Dauda Abegori, told our correspondent that prison warders always extort Okada riders who usually park close to the facility to pick passengers. The alleged shooting of the motorcyclist was said to have angered his colleagues and youths in the area who made bonfires on the road, which made motorists to avoid the area. This reportedly caused pandemonium as commuters, motorists, and passers-by ran helter-skelter. Agbegoro said one of the warders demanded 50 naira from an Okada rider, but that one said he could not give a bribe because he was a Muslim. The warder later dragged him inside and shot him. This led to crisis in the area. That's the report on the crisis and the clash between motorcyclists and prison warders. And we move over to the next. Family of slain vendor demand 500 million from Bajabiamila. And we brought this story a couple of days back. Now let's look at the details and how it's progressing. The family of Ifeanyi Okereke, the vendor killed by a security aide of Femi Bajabiamila, Speaker of the House of Representatives, is demanding 500 million naira from the number 4 citizen. In the letter dated 23rd November 2020, the Okereke family said the demand is not enough to replace their son. The demand was contained in a letter addressed to the speaker by counsel to the family, Mike Ozekome. Ozekome said, our clients have instructed us to make from your good self the following modest demands: that you use your good offices to ensure the immediate prosecution of the security aide, Abdullahi Hassan, who went on a frolic of his own, clearly acted outside the purview of his duty and responsibility by shooting to death an innocent, harmless, and armless citizen. That you adequately compensate the Okereke family with a modest sum of 500 million naira only. This monetary demand can never adequately replace or take the place of a son, husband, brother, and breadwinner's life, but it will at least mitigate the obvious trauma and hardship the premature demise of their irreplaceable breadwinner has placed on them. And we go to the next story. Hashtag NSAS, repentant looters have returned stolen items. Plateau government. Let's get the details. The Plateau government has said some residents who stole COVID-19 palliatives and vandalized public and private assets in the state have returned the looted items. In a statement on Tuesday, Director of Press and Public Affairs to the Governor, Makut Machan, has said the residents who returned items were led to the government house by a cleric, Ezekiel Dachomo. He said the resident became remorseful after the Chomo preached against the recent looting of public and private properties in the state. The statement reads, some people who participated in looting of items during the recent vandalization of warehouses and other public and private properties under the guise of looking for palliatives have returned the items in their possession, asking for forgiveness from the government of Plateau State. The repentant persons were led to the new government house refilled jaws by popular evangelist of the Church of Christ in Nations, COSIN, Reverend Ezekiel Dachomo, who explained that they made the confession during a prayer revival organized at the Zang Secondary School, Bukuru, Jos South local government area. The clergy said over 2,000 people came forward after hearing the gospel where he preached against the recent looting and vandalism which affected public and private properties in the state. This action, according to him, is not just an invitation of the anger of God against the suspects, but the entire state. He said the hijack of the NSAS protest is a plan of the devil to scuttle the will of God for Plateau State, which cannot be left without intercession. Touched by the message, some of the persons involved in the looting repented and decided to bring some of the items still in their possession as a mark of restitution and plea for mercy from God and the government of Plateau State. Reverend Dachomo appealed to the government of Plateau State Simon Bako Lalong to temper justice with mercy by granting forgiveness to the repentant persons who voluntarily came forward at the revival meeting with a promise never to partake in such acts again. That's awesome that they did bring them back, but let's look at the next story. Ex-Niger President Tanja is dead. The former president of Niger Republic, Mamadou Tanja, is dead. The Niger government announced his death in Niamey on Tuesday, but did not categorically state the actual cause of his death. It declared 3 days of mourning throughout the national territory for the 82-year-old. Tanja was forced to relinquish power in February 2010 after planning to remain in office despite a two-term limit. He was succeeded by President Mahamadou Issoufou. In 2011, the former leader had been ill for several years and was flown to France, Germany, and Morocco for treatment. Tanja passed away as Niger prepares for the December 27 presidential election. May his soul rest in peace. And now we go over to the next story that we've got for you. And this is breaking. This is coming from IPOB. IPOB's North American rep Obidi Obieno dismissed, accused of insubordination. Let's give you the details. The inner war which erupted in the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB has taken another bitter dimension as the North American representatives Obidi Obieno has been reportedly removed from his position by the fugitive leader of the Road Movement, Nnamdi Kanu. This is another heavy blow to IPOB after the deputy leader and the press secretary of the movement were secretly dismissed from the outlawed group. Elomba News had reported about the present implosion after the former deputy leader described himself as Rezo and threatened to expose a lot of dirty deals happening behind the scene. Although Uche Mefo, who appeared visibly angry 2 days ago, announced the establishment of a new radio called Biafra Human Rights Radio after he was stopped from accessing Radio Biafra London by the powers that be. He recounted how the bad eggs in the movement insulted and humiliated him and vowed never to stop Biafra Human Rights Radio. However, the latest onslaught is against the North American representative, Obidi Obienu. He was accused of insubordination by Nnamdi Kanu, which culminated to his removal. Sources close to the former Kanu ally shared a message with Elumba News detailing his dismissal from the organization. Good morning, everyone. First, I want to start by thanking each and every one of you for believing and working towards the restoration of Biafra. Thank you for so very much for your selfless services. As it stands now, I just woke up to a WhatsApp message from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that I have been relieved of my position as North American rep with immediate effect. Reason being that I conveyed the meeting yesterday contrary to his advice. According to him, my behavior is an act of insubordination. Also, he threatened to dismiss me on air if I exercise any further authority. That being mentioned, I just want to let you all know that I am resolved not to continue with any further efforts in root out the evil in IPO. Apparently, my goals were right when I said to you all yesterday that my purpose is to find out who is responsible for all the confusion within the family. Now the evidence is clear. Please, for now, I am here on this forum because I created it and wish to continue a healthy relationship with you. Nonetheless, not for any activity of indigenous people of Biafra led by Mazi Kanu Nnamdi. Regardless, I am an indigenous person and Biafra is my nation though. Once again, thank you all for your generous efforts towards the restoration of Biafra. Yours truly, Obidi Obienu. However, Nnamdi Kanu has been accused of being a dictator and serial liar by his former allies. The removal of Obienu could mark the final obituary of the rogue movement, as it is becoming quite clear to all and sundry that there is no form of sincerity amongst its leaders. And we all go over to another story that says suspected vandals destroy Ajib Shell facilities in Bayelsa State. Suspected vandals have blown up oil and gas facilities belonging to Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria and the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company on Tuesday. A loud bang from the explosion was heard around Ikarama in Yenegua local government area of Bayelsa State. A youth leader in the community, Ben Warder, told Punch that residents heard loud sounds from the affected oil fields and were very terrified to go near the impacted area. The site is not far from Ikarama. We heard sounds from the blast and it sounded like dynamite, Warder said. It was not safe to go near, so when the situation became quiet, we had to trace what happened, and it turned out that Shell's gas pipeline and Ajib's crude oil lines were destroyed. The incident resulted in air pollution from the gas pipeline and crude leak, which members of the affected communities are battling to cope with, he added. And mechanic receives 15 lashes for stealing iPhone. Let's see. A 20-year-old mechanic, Amos Dauda, was on Tuesday sentenced to 15 strokes of cane by a Kaduna Chief Magistrate's Court for stealing iPhone worth 150,000 naira. The convict, a resident of Baranawa, Kaduna State, was arraigned on a 2-count charge of criminal trespass and theft, to which he pleaded guilty and pleaded for leniency. The magistrate Ibrahim Emmanuel sentenced the convict to 15 strokes of cane and also ordered him to clean the court premises as part of his sentence. Emmanuel further advised the convict to be of good behavior and warned him to desist from committing crimes, as the court would not be lenient with him next time. Earlier, the prosecutor, Inspector Leonard Chidi, told the court that once Stephen Francis reported the matter at the Gagbasawa police station on November 15th. According to the prosecutor, the convict went into the complainant's apartment while he was sleeping and stole his iPhone valued at 150,000 naira. Chidi said the convict was caught while trying to escape from the house, and the said iPhone was recovered from him. He stated that the offences contravene Section 257 and 271 of the Kaduna State Penal Code Law 2017. Okay, so these are the stories that we've got for you today, and we would finally look at this one before we call it a wrap for the day. Constitution amendment call for submission of memoranda. The House of Representatives Special Committee, the review of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is calling on the general public to submit memoranda on the following thematic areas. federal structure and power devaluation, local government slash local government autonomy, public revenue, fiscal federation and revenue allocation, Nigeria police and Nigeria security architecture, comprehensive judicial reform, electoral reform to strengthen our neck to deliver transparent, credible, and fair elections, socio-economic and cultural rights is contained in Chapter 2 of the Constitution, strengthening the independence of oversight institution, immunity, the National Assembly, state creation, and any other matter that will help strengthen Nigeria's democracy. All proposals and memoranda are to be submitted to the Secretariat of the Committee at room H331, House of Representatives, White House National Assembly Complex in Abuja, or email repsconreview@gmail.com. This was signed by Right Honorable Ahmed Idris Wase, Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives. Okay, so these are the stories that we've got for you. Alright, we'll quickly look at this one called by Arawa Youth for Abaribe's arrest. Shameful. Direct attack on judiciary. IRF. Igbo Renaissance Forum IRF upon Igbo movement has vehemently condemned the call for the national president of the Arawa Youth Consultative Forum AYCF, Alhaji Yerima Shatima, for the arrest of Senator Enyinaya Abaribe, the minority leader in the Senate. In a statement signed by its international coordinator Nze Ugo Akpe Onwuka Oyi, the organization made it clear that such unfortunate call is a classical case of comparing apples to oranges. The statement reads, "We wish to express our deepest disappointment at the grossly unfortunate call by the Arawa Youth Consultative Forum, AYCF, for the arrest of Senator Enyinaya Abaribe following the order of a court to remand Senator Ali Ndume in Kuje Correctional Center over his failure to produce the former pension tax team chairman, Abdurrashid Meina, in court. It is sad that Alhaji Yerima Shatima is still stalking his tribal quandary and has been so blinded to see things from objective and realistic national perspective. It is sad and heartbreaking that instead of commending the court for taking such an action that will deter other looters in the Nigerian state in line with the federal government's push for zero tolerance to corruption, this youth leader veered dangerously off course and started making demands that ultimately makes corruption look like a noble venture. We will not hesitate to advise Alhaji Yerima Shatima to retrace his steps and cease from being used as a hatchman. We call on President Muhammadu Buhari to take immediate actions to prevent the desecration of the judiciary by such unguarded and vexatious narratives from tribally sequestered minds. It is very pertinent to note that if such rhetorics are ignored and those who propagate such divisive and unintelligent narratives are allowed to go scot-free, it will surely embolden such myopic and tribally twisted elements to rubbish the judiciary and other arms of government in future. Igbo Renaissance Forum demand that Alhaji Yerima Shatima be made to withdraw his putrid statement, which goes to paint the judiciary in a very terrible light. Comparing the case of Senator Enyinaya Abaribe to that of Senator Ali Ndume is a classical case of comparing apples to oranges, and this can only happen where intelligence has been suspended based on pecuniary interests. Finally, we want to state that we will not stand by and watch hired hands raise questionable issues with the ultimate aim of targeting Senator Enyinaya Abaribe for harassment. And these are the stories that we've got for you, and with us, we'll call it a wrap for today. And do not forget, this is Elumba Television. Go straight to the subscription button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so that you get to know when next will come up here with the next broadcast. Also, like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. Until we come your way again, my name is Angel Liddy. Stay safe.